My name's Dan Hammond and I'm the Product Manager for FortiSIEM. I'm going to be giving you an overview of FortiSIEM and focusing on three key areas. One of those is around visibility that FortiSIEM can provide organizations. Another is around ease of use, and the other is around incident detection. And all of these will combine together to provide that overall understanding and risk management within your environment. To begin with, I'm logged into the incident view and the overview section of incidents. And this version of FortiSIEM that we're using here is the multi-tenant version. Underneath a multi-tenant version, you can have individual organizations and a global view, being able to see what's happening under all orgs. To move down into a specific organization, we change the scope. And we're switching to the demo pack, which is essentially a customer or an organization view. If this was the enterprise version of FortiSIEM, the interface remains very consistent, except you would only see your organization's view. You wouldn't have the multi-tenant concept. So now that we're in an organization, this is something similar to what you would see under any other enterprise installation. And from this overview, we can see security, performance, availability, and change-related incidents, not just focusing on security or change, but a much wider SOC and NOC visibility. We can also understand what the top incidents are, and also the impacted host by either risk score or the severity. Just quickly focusing on one area here, we can see that Orders ERP has a number of high-risk incidents. But we can also flip this over to a risk view and see that Orders ERP also has high risk. So we're going to focus a little bit on incidents to provide that visibility and alerting capability within FortiSIEM. And there's other views that we can use to identify incidents and also the progression of incidents through the network. One of those views is the attack view based off the MITRE ATT&CK framework, where we've mapped the tactics to different rules within FortiSIEM. So here, if we're looking at Orders ERP, again, we can see now that we've got initial access, execution, discovery, and all the way to command and control and exfiltration. And if I select any of these here, it's going to give us more information about those incidents that have occurred. In this case, we've seen command and control activity that's been identified by traffic going to a malicious IP address within the FortiGuard malware IP list, which we'll cover off in more depth in a little while. Other views also allow us to see things like the Explorer, where we're able to tie together the host's IP addresses, users, and incidents. So again, going back to host, maybe Orders ERP, if we select this host, we can see what users are associated with it, the IP address of the host, as well as the incidents. And now if I select Joe Biden, this user, as the focus of the investigation, we can also see what other IP addresses are associated with Joe. And we can select the IP address, which will then further filter what incidents are associated with this IP. So we're starting to see a pattern, which is also supported by the attack view, and also the overview, where we've seen a high-risk incidents associated with the Orders ERP, but now we're quickly able to identify the users associated with that host, and also some source IP addresses. We can continue to drill down into more information as well. So if we wanted to look at, for instance, the multiple VPN logon failures, this is a different user but on the same IP address. We can then see the raw events that are associated with this rule. And again, further drill down, maybe go to the incident view, or we can check information on this particular IP address. We could check this in external lookups into FortiGuard or other resources if we needed to. Under the risk view, this provides us with visibility of entity and user risks. If we take the Orders ERP host, we can see that the risk score has been high for a long period of time, and we have a timeline which is now available, so we can go back in time to identify some of the incidents and some of this timeline, for instance, the traffic to the malicious IP address, outbound transfer of traffic, but also some events and incidents relating to slow database queries, where quite possibly data is being harvested for the future extraction outside of the organization. And with the Windows agent on FortiSIEM, we can perform file integrity monitoring. So we're monitoring changes to particular files, registries, as well as copying of information maybe to removable media. Now, one of the capabilities within FortiSIEM is to understand the performance and operational health of devices. If I want to know more information about Orders ERP, I can see what the device health is. And I can see all associated instances, whether they are performance or security or change in this single view. I can see memory and CPU utilization. I can also see interface utilization. I can see disk utilization and vulnerabilities associated with that host. And I can also see what the top impacted business services are. So let's go across and have a look in the CMDB and understand how we collect this information about the host. First of all, FortiSIEM is able to discover your environment using operational protocols like SNMP, WMI, or various API integrations. And when we discover a device, which could be a FortiGate firewall, we'll automatically categorize it under the group. So this firewall here, we are able to see what the CPU utilization is, the memory utilization, drill down into more information, have a look at the device health, or drill down into analytics for historical data. We're able to see not just performance data, but also all of the security data that's been generated or associated with this host. We can also look at configuration changes for network type devices, as we can SSH onto a device and pull back the configurations. And this allows us to alert users of any configuration change and see what that configuration is, and not relying on log data to identify these changes for us. And of course, as a result of this, we can perform appropriate actions. Whether it's a firewall or whether a server, we keep the interface consistent for the analyst. So moving through, FortiSIEM remains familiar. Here we have a server, and again we can see similar performance metrics. We can also understand things like the running processes and monitor these from a performance and a status perspective, able to alert if we see a change in status. Within the resources section of FortiSIEM, we provide a lot of content available out of the box for organizations to use. So if we were looking at various threat hunting reports or looking at devices and wanted to know more information about our firewalls, which could be an operational report such as the CPU utilization, we can schedule these reports to be executed as needed and deliver them in different formats such as PDF or CSV. Or we could be looking at reports based off of the function, where we have reports grouped together by security, performance, change, and availability. If we were looking at security and maybe authentications, wanting to understand the failed authentications, we can quickly filter on those and again schedule these or run directly. And there's also compliance frameworks available within FortiSIEM, different reports that can be executed such as PCI reports, HIPAA reports, SANS critical controls, or one of the NIST frameworks as well. And all of these reports can be cloned and copied and scheduled to be ran. Another area under resources is rules, and this is where we define our correlation rules within FortiSIEM. They're grouped together by availability, performance, change, and security. But using the same rules framework and interface, whether you're looking for performance-related incidents and events such as high CPU or interface issues, or whether you're using security data and looking for something like an authentication failure. These can all be defined within this interface. And finally, under this section, you can also see the threat intelligence feeds. We have a number of predefined threat intel feeds. One of these is the FortiGuard threat intel list, where we are able to connect to FortiGuard and bring back malicious IP addresses, domains, and URLs. And FortiSIEM will alert if we see activity to any of these IP addresses or indicators in real time, as well as being able to use them for historical reporting. So let's move on to analytics. I can quickly build analytic searches using keyword searches, structured searches, or reference some of the CMDB information as well directly from this analytics screen. We're going to be doing a structured search here. And what I want to reference is any events coming from firewalls. Which quickly gives me a list of events, over 30,000 different events that have been returned in the last 10 minutes. And I can use some shortcuts to load up some templates to say give me the top events that we see from firewalls. And now I may want to understand things like the source IP address and destination IP address. Which gives me all of the permitted traffic, denied traffic, and many other types of events as well. Quite possibly I want to focus down into more specific areas. So we can reference the event types, where we've normalized all the different events within FortiSIEM. So if I was looking for traffic events, permitted traffic events, we can add these groups in, and maybe I want to understand how much traffic is being sent to a particular destination. We can use an expression to help us calculate this. So now we can understand how much traffic has been transferred to particular destinations over a period of time. But this is good for reporting. What I want to understand is if I've seen any malicious activity, maybe command and control or going to known malicious IP addresses. We can easily bring that additional information into the analytics searches. By saying the destination IP, are they in any threat feeds? We're going to reference the FortiGuard threat feed here. Then we can go back further in time and have a look over a longer period. And here we can see there's traffic going to malicious IP address, and 80 megabytes of traffic has been transferred over this period of time. Now from this analytics search, we can save this as a report. And once we've saved that report definition, we can go to the dashboard screen and we can add that report in. Which allows us to customize the view. Here we can drag this widget up to a more prominent position on the dashboard. We can also change this view, maybe to a bar chart view. We'll do this over the last 24 hours. So just to recap where we are so far, FortiSIEM has provided visibility into incidents, the attack stages, able to investigate easily through analytics and identify suspicious activity, add this information to a dashboard, and also use the CMDB to help facilitate searches as well as provide additional context.